Welcome to Remote Learning. For this lesson, we'll look at the character of Macbeth. Here I've added 3 key points from the previous lesson that will be useful for this lesson. This lesson you'll need access to this office form. You can access this by clicking the office form below or following this link. Please don't rush ahead with your office form as you'll need this for the entirety of this lesson. So what are we learning today? Well, today we're going to analyse Lady Macbeth's motivations in Act 1, Scene 5 and Shakespeare's choice of language for this character. So why are we learning this? Well, this scene is pivotal to the plot and the character. Okay, so Lady Macbeth's decisions directly influence the plot and the actions of Macbeth. So how does this fit into our learning journey? Well, last lesson we looked at Act 1, Scene 2 and 3 and briefly looked at Shakespearean language. This is our 8th lesson of Macbeth, where we'll analyse Act 1, Scene 5, and next lesson we'll do a learning checkpoint discussing this scene. So our learning objective today is to explain and comment on Shakespeare's use of language in Act 1, Scene 5, then analyse key quotations from Lady Macbeth's soliloquy and infer her desires and nature. So first of all, I'll give you a starter task on office forms. Then I'll give you some new information about Lady Macbeth and Act 1, Scene 5. Then for the student-led part of the lesson, we will listen to, discuss and analyse this scene. And for the student-led part, guys, I'll send you away to complete a task that will secure your knowledge of today's lesson. So guys, to begin, I want you to look at these 4 statements in the starter activity section of your office form. So click whether you agree or disagree with these statements. Look at the options to select by what extent you agree or disagree. So guys, now I want you to think about what you already know about Lady Macbeth from previous lessons. What she does, what is her character like, and what happens to her. Okay guys, now let's recap what we already know about Lady Macbeth. So she's more ambitious and ruthless than her husband, and this is important to understand because as soon as an opportunity to gain power presents itself, she has a plan in mind. So this ambitious nature overpowers Macbeth's own, and she's able to influence and persuade Macbeth that they're taking the right course of action, and even takes part in the crime herself. So for a while she's able to suppress her actions, but eventually she becomes unable to deal with the guilt of what she has done, becomes unable to sleep and becomes mentally unstable, and eventually dies in tragic circumstances. So obviously this will not necessarily be known by the audience yet, but it does suggest limitations on her gender expectations, so her compassion for deaths of women and children being a natural response that even she cannot overcome. So now guys, before we listen to the scene itself, I want to briefly give you an overview of this scene. So in Act 1, Scene 5 of Macbeth, Lady Macbeth reads a letter from Macbeth and finds out about the witch's prophecy that he will become king. She doesn't think that Macbeth has the cruelty necessary to do what has to be done to become king. As such, she decides to take matters into her own hands. So Lady Macbeth is considered the 4th witch in the play, as she essentially functions in a similar role, so to manipulate and steer the main protagonist to a path of evil. So a key point here is that this is Lady Macbeth's very first scene, and in this scene she immediately starts to plot a murder based on a letter from her husband. So immediately Shakespeare gives Lady Macbeth a soliloquy, so making the audience aware of her innermost thoughts. And remember, soliloquies are designed to allow the audience access into a character's mind and thoughts. So due to the limitations presented by a play, where a character speaks their thoughts and no other character can hear them. So other media such as novels have the luxury of being able to allow the reader unlimited access to thoughts and motivations, whereas a play relies on what is spoken. So in a novel, the choices of a character not to say what is on their mind, or even express the complete opposite to their actual thoughts, perhaps is more interesting, as carelessly expressing truthful thoughts or emotions is unrealistic, and a person or character should know what they can and cannot say to other people. So back to Macbeth. So an audience would instantly mistrust Lady Macbeth due to her actions and define her gender stereotypes. so our modern perceptions would brand Lady Macbeth as a strong female character who knows exactly what she wants and is intelligent enough to achieve her ambitions. But Shakespeare intended to quickly show the audience that this character is not one in which we should like, as the expectations of a Jacobean woman was to lack independency and submit to the choices of a patriarchal society. So now we're going to listen to Act 1, Scene 5 of Macbeth. So as you listen, think about how Shakespeare introduces Lady Macbeth, what Lady Macbeth is willing to do for her husband, and the amount of dialogue which is given to Lady Macbeth and Macbeth. Act 1, Scene 5. Enter Lady Macbeth alone with a letter.
They met me in the day of success, and I have learned by the perfectest report they have more in them than mortal knowledge. When I burned in desire to question them further, they made themselves air into which they vanished. Whiles I stood wrapped in the wonder of it, came missives from the king, who all hailed me Thane of Cawdor, by which title before these weird sisters saluted me, and referred me to the coming on of time with Hail, king that shalt be. This have I thought good to deliver thee, my dearest partner of greatness, that thou mightst not lose the dews of rejoicing by being ignorant of what greatness is promised thee. Lay it to thy heart, and farewell. Glamis thou art, and Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. Yet do I fear thy nature, it is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Thou wouldst be great, art not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it. What thou wouldst highly, thou holily, wouldst not play false, and yet wouldst wrongly win. Thou'st have great Glamis, that which cries thus thou must do if thou have it, and that which rather thou dost fear to do, thou wishest should be undone. Hie thee hither that I may pour my spirits in thine ear, and chastise with the valour of my tongue all that impedes thee from the golden round, which fate and metaphysical aid doth seem to have thee crowned withal.
Enter servant.
What is your tidings?
The king comes here tonight.
Thou art mad to say it. Is not thy master with him? Who wert so, would have informed for preparation.
So please you, it is true, our Thane is coming. One of my fellows has the speed of him, who almost dead for breath, has scarcely more than would make up his message.
Give him tending, he brings great news.
Exit servant.
The raven himself is horse that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe top full of direst cruelty. Make thick my blood, stop up the access and passage to remorse, that no compunctious visitings of nature shake my fell purpose, nor keep peace between the effect and it. Come to my woman's breasts and take my milk for gall, you murdering ministers, whatever in your sightless substance you wait on nature's mischief. Come, thick night, unpowel thee in the dunnest smoke of hell, that my keen knife see not the wound it makes, nor heaven peep through the blanket of the dark, to cry, hold, hold.
Enter Macbeth.
Great Glamis, worthy Cawdor, greater than both by the all-hail hereafter, thy letters have transported me beyond this ignorant present, and I feel now the future in the instant.
My dearest love, Duncan comes here tonight.
And when goes hence?
Tomorrow, as he purposes.
Oh, never shall sun that morrow see. Your face, my Thane, is as a book where men may read strange matters, to beguile the time, look like the time, bear welcome in your eye, your hand, your tongue, look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under. He that's coming must be provided for, and you shall put this night's great business into my dispatch, which shall, to all our nights and days to come, give solemnly sovereign sway and masterdom.
We will speak further.
Only look up clear, to alter favour ever is to fear, leave all the rest to me.
Exeunt. So let's analyse some of the key quotations from Lady Macbeth in Act 1, Scene 5. So as we go along, fill in the section of the office form entitled Analytical Task. So let's begin. So the raven himself was hoarse. As you may know, a raven is a harbinger of death, and a harbinger is a thing that announces or signals the approach of another. This symbolises doom and destruction. Next we have the word hoarse, which suggests that the raven has croaked so much that his throat is sore. So this implies or suggests that King Duncan's death is overdue or certain. So now we have Croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan. So her intentions of killing Duncan are clear here. So using the king's visit as an opportunity to enact her plan. So Croaks is also a euphemism, and a euphemism is an indirect expression of something harsh or unpleasant, essentially softening the reference but retaining its meaning. So here, instead of referring to someone dying, it refers to croak. So other euphemisms for death include kick the bucket, passed away, or left this world, etc. So a modern interpretation of this euphemism could imply that Lady Macbeth wishes to obscure her intentions to murder King Duncan from herself and therefore the audience. So next we have under my battlements. So here Lady Macbeth refers to the castle as hers, when in fact a woman could not own property. So the possessive pronoun here, so my, highlights that she is in charge of the situation and she holds more power than Macbeth in the castle, especially as the latter would have been away for long periods of time fighting wars. So this is perhaps Lady Macbeth's most famous lines. So here she calls on evil spirits or creatures to come to her and help her with her evil plans. So this connects to the idea of the witches, suggesting that Lady Macbeth wants to be more witch-like. So the multiple use of the imperatives in this speech give a sense of urgency, and it emphasises that again she wishes to take control of the situation. So next we have unsex me here. So the verb unsex highlights her desire to rid herself of her feminine traits such as emotion, regret, maternal instinct and affection. So she's willingly going against the expectations of a Jacobean woman and essentially is willing to give up her femininity for the sake of ambition. So remember that women were expected to bring life into the world and men would take it out when they fought in wars. So next we have and fill me from the crown to the toe top full of direst cruelty, and this essentially translates as fill my body from head to toe with cruelty. Okay, so this demonstrates the lengths that Lady Macbeth is willing to go for her husband and her ambitions. So she's willing to sacrifice her sex, identity and hope of the afterlife for power now. So next we have the superlative direst. So showing that she's willing to plead or request help from the darkest of spirits to get what she wants. And what she wants is for Macbeth to become King of Scotland. So now Lady Macbeth says, make thick my blood. So here Lady Macbeth expresses her desire to be cold-hearted and also wanting her wounds, metaphorical in this case, to heal over quickly before she feels any pain and not allow emotion to get in the way of ambition and to succumb to the weakness of her gender. So next we have that no compunctious visitings of nature. So compunctious is defined as the sting of conscience or a pang of doubt aroused by wrongdoing or the prospect of wrongdoing. So this demonstrates that Lady Macbeth knows that what she is doing is wrong and wishes to disregard the consequences and damage to her soul. Okay guys, and the last line, it's important to note the definition of fell in this context. So this means cruel, dangerous or fatal. Okay, so here Lady Macbeth suggests that emotion and compassion might prevent her or shake her fell purpose, that these are weaknesses that she considers Macbeth to have. So here Lady Macbeth says, come thick night and pull thee in the dunnest smoke of hell. So essentially hiding her sinful acts under the cover of night and the clouds. So it's important to note that night is when demons and evil forces were said to be most active. So dunnest actually means brownest or dimmest. So again referencing the ideas of concealment and hiding her actions. It's also worth noting that the reference to hell would cement a Jacobean audience firmly against the character of Lady Macbeth, so they would either dislike, fear, or perhaps despise her. So next, Lady Macbeth says that my keen knife see not the wound it makes. So this expression simply emphasises that Lady Macbeth wants to be the only person with the knowledge of this evil deed. She says that she doesn't even want her knife to know about it. And that's how secret she wants to keep this act. Okay guys, so on the last two lines of this quotation, nor heaven peep through the blanket of the dark to cry, hold, hold. So here Lady Macbeth wants her deeds so secret, she wants them hidden from heaven, so God can't intervene and stop her. So this could be a reference to Lady Macbeth wanting to blind God from her act of sin and have it omitted when she is judged by him after her death. So last quotation, guys. So we have look like the innocent flower but be the serpent underneath. So this is an important quotation to learn for Lady Macbeth as it's summative to her character and role in the play. So first we have this simile, and here Shakespeare conveys the idea of concealment and deception, so suggesting that not everything is as clear as it appears. So now let's look at the noun snake, and this has biblical connotations of Satan in the story of Adam and Eve, where the snake represents temptation and sin, as Satan himself tempted Adam and Eve to eat forbidden fruit from the tree. So here Lady Macbeth is encouraging Macbeth to be evil but appear innocent. So this is evident in the modern translation of the line. So you should look like an innocent flower but be like a snake that hides underneath the flower. Okay, so this particular line is delivered to Macbeth, and notice the contrast between appearance and reality, and this is a key theme in the play. So now on your office form in your student-led task section, I want you to complete the following activities. So please follow this link and watch Act 1 Scene 5 performed. So second thing, guys, I want you to rate this performance and explain your rating. Then question 3, briefly discuss whether you agree or disagree with the statement Lady Macbeth is the most evil character in all of fiction. And then 4, guys, then rate your understanding of this lesson. So please submit this at the end of this lesson to be marked, and the video link is available on the presentation and is attached in the description. Please ensure your work is saved and emailed to your English teacher where possible. If you are writing on paper, please keep these safely stored for when you return to school.